Joining me now is Loni Greninger. Loni is the Vice Chairwoman of the Jamestown S'Klallam Tribe in Washington State. I do apologise if I pronounced that incorrectly, so do feel free to correct me there. Is that right?
Loni Greninger, so very close.
There you go. Okay, and is that the right name of the tribe?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It's Jamestown S'Klallam Tribe.
Wonderful to have you on the program. So tell us more about what this ruling means for American Indian families and their community.
Thank you so much for the question. So what this means for us is it is a confirmation of what has been true all along, that Indian nations are sovereign nations and we have a citizenship. And these children are the breath, they are the lifeblood of our future. They are our citizens. They are our future leaders. They are the future of our nationhood. So for this law to be upheld just like it was in 1978, the whole reason it was brought to bear was because children were being robbed from us, from our homes, by Western state agencies for child welfare at the time. And so to have this upheld, our sovereignty and our citizenship and our children being connected to us by our ancestors and tradition, this is a relief, this is a joy, this is an achievement, this is a victory for Indian country.
Now, the law was challenged by 3 non-Indian couples and 3 states, citing racial discrimination in ways the Constitution does not allow. But the tribes and their supporters argued that the law is based on political distinctions, not racial ones. Tell us more about the case itself and the argument that sealed its fate.
There's about 3 or 4 different pieces of the argument. But that piece that you already spoke of, that political distinction, that's where we're really focusing on. That political distinction is the foundation for everything else that has been going on in this case. We are politically distinct people, not a racially distinct people. We are nations, we have citizens. And so with that foundation, the race-based argument or that concern of discrimination, for us, at least for me personally as a tribal leader, that's really not even part of the argument when we're talking about politically distinct, not even racially distinct. And I know that's something that could be difficult to understand, and especially might feel hurtful for Native or non-Native families who do love Native children. But when we're talking about nationhood and citizenship, we have to keep our people connected to that political foundation, that political distinction. And so when we're talking about this entire case, for me, that is the foundation that we focus on, and for me, that is the argument that won.
This case brings to mind the stolen generation in Australia, where up until the early 1970s, Australian federal and state government agencies forcibly removed tens of thousands of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children from their families and placed them up for adoption or in group homes, church missions, that sort of thing. How do you compare the historical removal of Indigenous children in other countries to the US, and how can countries kind of learn from each other in these cases?
Gosh, from what you just mentioned there, it sounds really similar to what happened to our Native children for generations, where we were removed and we were also placed in boarding schools. And that's a big highlighted issue right now in the United States. There's a lot of research and digging into history, and now the reconciliation piece. So what can other countries learn from one another? Gosh, it's going to be difficult to say because each country has different political environments and different journeys of the relationship with one another when you're talking about sovereign to sovereign relationships. But if there's something that other countries can learn from the United States, is that tribal leaders, Indigenous leaders, we can rise, we can make our voices known, we can speak for our ancestors, we can speak for our present, and we can speak for our future generations. And when we're doing that respectfully and holding on to that responsibility we have for our people, make those things known, make the history known, make the negative impacts known. That's what we did for the 1978 Act. We brought all of this forward and said, look, we are getting our children robbed from us. This is a problem. This is a problem for our nationhood. So bringing those leaders together on the Indigenous and the non-Native side, finding those champions on each side and bringing those issues forward, bringing that voice out loud and proud, there's definitely some successful steps that you can make forward and a lot of momentum on these issues.